Hello and welcome back to Power Up Gamers. I'm Jarin Dnd, Disabled DM. Um, we had a small hit
Whew, okay.
hiccup.
He is coming over in a sec.
Okay, awesome.
Oh, okay. Apparently the transition. Okay. Power up. Is it working now?
Well, we
Hold
don't
on.
know yet.
I have to actually look at the link. Okay, I see me.
Good. Okay, you
Okay,
shut up.
Oh
you're
yeah, we're live now.
working.
Cool.
Okay, it's working. Awesome.
Fab. All right. Well, I might as well stay for a bit then, since I'm here.
Okay. Well, then come up with a world building topic that we can discuss.
Okay. Right. Give me a minute. I'll have a think about it. Just do some sort of general chat. I've had a long day at work.
Hey, at the moment, we're just kind of waiting for some of our viewers to get back. I posted the new link for the YouTube chat, etc.
Cool.
So, gain an inspiration point. Yay! We all get inspiration for fixing the tech issue.
All the time is give each other inspiration points out of game.
I've actually done that. So normally about this time, I would either be done role building, I would be ending a session, or I would still be doing transcription work. But I'm kind of not following my normal pattern. Partially because transcription work is boring for my viewers. And having one sentence of a video maybe 4 times straight. So instead of it subjugating my viewers to that horror, I'm just kind of chatting, doing other things. So, let's kind of go away from specifics on world building into more of a general how do we world build? Or
okay. Now that I can.
What methods do you like to use? How do you organize it? Things like that.
Well, I like to start with an overall concept, just to hold it together. But sometimes that overall concept is just the name of the world.
Yeah.
For example, one world I've used a lot is called Roundland, and that just all I had at the beginning was the name, and I thought, okay, well, Roundland, okay, it's a small flat world, it's got one continent, it's round. And I thought, well, that's a little boring, so I decided to surround the continent with some large islands, and the continent is called Roundland, but the world overall is called Roundland and all. And then I came up with a mythology that that when in the beginning there was just empty air and little tiny specks of islands in an endless sea that living beings clung to precariously. But then there was a big battle between gods, and the god of uh, well, he's the god of everything as he's known now. He's Urfrey, ruler of land and sky. But he became so because he defeated uh, Remnant, ruler of storms, and that was the problem. You see, people living on these tiny islands, a storm came by, things got very bad. They fought, and in the fight, Urfrey's shield took a major beating, and it got a big fissure in one side. But he finally prevailed. He cut Remnant's head off, and he slammed his shield down on him into the water. And when he did so, the shield on top of the body became the continent of Roundland, and the limbs became the four larger islands, the head floating out there somewhere. Uh, then Urfrey bent down the sky that would seal the world off. There's still endless ocean,
Yeah.
but here it's local. Remnant's head is bobbing up and down outside, but sometimes it manages to send a storm through, not nearly as big as the storms used to be. Plus, now there's dry land for everyone to live on.
Okay, so pretty interesting concept, but
Once I have that, just a little bit more.
How do you organize that?
Okay, well, I just wrote it down.
Okay.
But once I have that, then I can start gaming. I can start, and wherever the people start, I just make up that part, and then I figure out how this connects to everything else. The more new places I start, the more detailed the whole world becomes. Because
Exactly.
when you have 3 separate places, then you have to think about, what is in between them. And sometimes I just go to the world mentally and look around.
Okay.
I don't have lists of I don't like have a spreadsheet, towns and their sizes and so forth.
Yeah.
If I had a bigger world, I probably would do that.
Okay. So,
Okay.
Jenny, how do you begin and world building, and kind of how do you structure it?
Well, world building has been quite a recent thing with me. Other times I've been taking some pre-existing settings and working on them. So, for example, with the Fighting Fantasy Realm Titan, I kind of made stuff up from that, and also the Shadows of Estrim setting called, well, it's not called Talcare, but that's like the continent that it's set on. But for A Clockwork Opera, as Dr. Pepper knows, that was completely made up on the spot. So I suppose that just kind of came along from a lot of different influences, mainly from my ex-boyfriend's campaign that he did was D&D plus steampunk, and I wanted to do one myself. So that was
Cool.
just those two things that I thought of, and then the world kind of came from there. I've always liked kind of cyberpunk stuff, and the sort of, well, it's kind of in the news at the minute, actually. It's quite sort of similar, very sort of dystopian, and that kind of subconsciously bled into the world anyway, which made it quite unique. I'm not sure how the world's going to be shaped from that now with the second series, since pretty much all that has been eradicated, or has it? But we'll see. I've got a couple of ideas in the back of my head.
Okay. So for me, usually what I do, before I even have a setting, is I go in, I talk to my players, or I've done an interest post. Hey, I want to do a 5e a campaign. I want to do a session 0. If you're interested, come talk, do the session 0. We'll figure out the rules from there. And I ask questions like, what kind of role do you guys want to play in? Do you want it high fantasy, low magic? Do you want it high magic? sci-fi, etc. Hey, Ronnie.
Hello.
Evening.
Good evening.
Eek, maybe I should move to England.
Really? Right at the minute? I mean, I won't go
Yeah,
into it, but seriously, it's so bad.
sounds like I got a couple of Brits around me.
Yeah,
But so that's kind of how I start world building is I find out what my players want to play in. And because I have a list, it's called the Realms of Nexus, which is my overall setting of 12 universes. Each universe has 12 planets, and only one planet's fully fleshed out. So I'll just pick one and say, okay, we're gonna play on this planet, and it's gonna follow this kind of feel, this kind of mood, and then I go from there.
I do talk to players, but after my initial concept. So I
Yeah.
kind of come up with it a little,
Like-
and then I kind of say, right, I want players who are interested in this, this, and this, and then we collaborate from there.
Yeah, I do that, I would say half the time is where I'll have a concept that I throw out, such as the one shot we did together, Jenny, which we gotta do some more sometime soon. That was
Absolutely.
just a blast. As, but then I go into, for world building, I might draw up a world map and just have the geography. I may not put towns on it, but I'll place like where the mountains are, what region is furthest, etc. And then I just kind of build it from there. And once I have the map done, I'll ask my players to give me a list of names, maybe 10 names for different, whether it's cities, mountains, and I'll try to include as much of that as I can on the map. And then
Sorry, go on.
yeah, Ronnie.
No, I sort of come at it from a slightly different angle. Most of the time when I've been running sessions, it's been a case of not being able to get players together, except for the time when I actually have the session. So a lot of the world building has been down to me, or has been down to whoever's running the game.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is they will say, right, here is the game world. These are kind of characters I'm looking for, or the ones that I think will fit best as player characters. Which ones do you want to take? And then you get character creation, and then where it's into the game. The idea of sort of collaborating on the world building is something that I'd love to do more of, actually, but the situation so far hasn't really allowed for it.
Yeah. That's one of the things I want to get together with Power Up Gamers is I want a core group of maybe 4 or 5 people who produce creative content, whether it's world building, ideas for PDFs, ideas for videos, or something kind of like Absolute Tabletop does. They have the core group that they they do PDF supplements together, they play games together, etc. But I want a group specifically for creative content. And I I have a couple people that are interested, but finding times that work for all of us is hard, and there has to be a certain chemistry between the people involved to make it work.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm really happy with my steampunk group, and I think all of them are intending to stay for the second season, which is very awesome. But yeah, chemistry is a big thing, and anything creative or collaborative.
Uh, and, and it's interesting because it carries over even into your playing groups. You have to have that chemistry with them as a DM and as players with other players in order to have these really epic sessions where the adventure itself may not be anything epic, but the players and the DMs make it epic.
Yeah, that's a very good
And,
point, actually.
and chemistry, I think, plays a big part of that.
Well, yeah, because the players are such a big part of the campaign or one shot anyway.
Yeah.
As a GM, you just sort of set it out for them.
Yeah, for example, or let's take the one shot we did together, and I believe we had Mary with us, and I think it was Tina.
Yeah, that's right, Mary and Tina.
And now Mary is a regular player of mine. Jenny, I've had the pleasure of chatting on numerous occasions, and I had seen her as a guest appearance, so I kind of knew from the start that me and Jenny would get along pretty good. So right there, I had two people that I was comfortable with that I knew wouldn't throw something totally ridiculous out there. They would keep it within the tone and feel of the game. And it showed a lot in our game. And because everyone played off of the environment, they played off of each other really well. So that kind of chemistry is really important, and it's hard to find, especially if you're doing online stuff. Like I'm sure Jenny can tell you, she's ran stuff at conventions and etc. I'm sure you've had groups that just don't have that chemistry. Someone will come in, throw something that doesn't fit the setting.
Yeah. I don't know if you watched my video about the expo, actually. It was very interesting. Well, you'll know then that I had one extremely chemically compatible group, as it were. It was just amazing the way they played off each other. Some were still stronger than others, but they were so good, and they played off me as well very well. Compared to some other groups that were a bit more sort of a bit more fragmented. And then there was the infamous one with the guy extremely uncomfortable with the occult, which completely threw his power in the works, and Ronnie knows all about that one.
Well, all I can say is to that guy, if he's watching this video, if he catches it up, next year I'll come down. I'll bring Nephilim.
Nice.
Because if he's got problems with the occult, get ready for Nephilim.
Yeah.
Because that game actually has the pentagram on the cover.
Yeah.
I actually had one player that was almost the reverse. It wasn't problem with the cult. It was problem with if she was a religious person. And in the system or the campaign we were playing, I had asked all the players to pick whether they want to be primordial concepts or elemental concepts. As a group, they chose primordial. I explained that in the cosmology that I was running, it meant Io, the dragon god of creation, and then Bahamut and Tiamat and the five primordial concepts were right under him, and that the deities came about because of the dreams. So they were placed kind of above the deities, that they were the embodiment of concepts such as perception, time, balance, and that all the deities had to follow these concepts. And the player eventually, after like 15 sessions, and having agreed to this, finally he told me she had a problem about it because it was becoming the focus of the game was we were these primordial concepts. How do we deal with this? So my experience was a little bit reversed at that. Whereas if they had have said right up from the start, hey, look, I'm a religious person and I don't want this kind of thing being part of the game, and then if the rest of the group did want that, I would have said, okay, well, perhaps one of my other games is most suitable for you.
I think that's the thing. When you're GM, when you're creating a game, whether you're world building on your own and then bringing it to the players, or whether you're building with the players, if it's going to touch on possibly controversial subject matter,
yeah,
intentionally or in your case unintentionally touching on controversial subject matter, then if you're presenting that to the players, certainly the GM, I think, has a certain responsibility to make sure he's not deliberately stepping on people's toes when he knows that it's touching stuff that's going to offend. But at the same time, if a player is really uncomfortable with a concept, they got to speak up.
Yeah, they need to let the DM know.
I'm surprised that this person waited for 15 whole sessions before telling you.
I was too. And it really hit me and the rest of the group hard because we liked the character. We had gotten to know the character and the player. We liked the player, and it was like, okay, they just quit the game on us. They haven't joined any other game since that we've done, and they kind of just dropped out of sight.
Yeah, because certain kinds of games suit players better than others, and I'm not talking about systems. I'm talking about
exactly.
Not even genre, philosophies.
Yeah, there's certain ideas and topics.
Yeah.
For example, I was kicked out of a group on Roll20 for two reasons. The first reason, which didn't get me kicked out but was an issue, was I played a character whose background was she grew up in a tribe. Her and her brother were captured as young kids, tribe was decimated and they were sold into slavery. The master that bought her was kind of, to put it nicely, a pervert. And until the time she was 15, she had to fulfill the needs of him and his friends. We had a lady who was uncomfortable with that. Now, the only person who knew my character's background was the DM, who was fine with it. What made the person uncomfortable was a comment I made to another character in-game, and he was missing his wife. I and I made the comment, at least you know what it is to love. I've never had that willingly. And this lady took big offense to that. Never said anything about the scars all over her body. He never said anything about what her background was. So I ended up showing that character because this lady PM'd me, said, hey, there's a lot of women in our group. This topic isn't suitable. Even though I never brought it up. I made one tiny comment. So then I played another character, and I actually got kicked out for role-playing too much because people were complaining.
I had a person and it went very differently from the stories you hear. What he said was effectively, okay, he believed his God created everything. It includes us. Everything that he does is in us. It includes our imagination, since he is the only true creator. All of the things we create are derivatives of his own creation, and therefore, when even a non-believer like myself, when I create a world, I cannot help but put God in it, and therefore, as a player, he should be able to find his God even if I didn't intend it. So I create a mystical order called Seekers of the One, who would actually try to do this. And I really wanted to see how that turned. Unfortunately, he moved. I really wanted to see how that turned out. But that's another example of interaction with characters, creating something. Because I'm going to keep Seekers of the One when I reopen that world again.
Awesome. But kind of what I was doing with that is I wanted to showcase how people are uncomfortable with certain topics.
Yeah, I dig.
If that is the case, it is not for the DM and the players to say, oh, we're gonna play this kitty version game, and it is for the player to come to the group saying, hey, I'm uncomfortable with this topic, can we not include it? Because if we don't know, for example, the issue of rape, if we don't know someone's uncomfortable with that issue, whether they might have been a rape victim or know someone who was, or just aren't comfortable with it in general, then we can't be held accountable if we put it into our session because someone never said, hey, I'm uncomfortable with this. So that's where the communication between players and DMs is really important. especially when you're first getting together to determine a session. And
On to take your example, you're absolutely right that it's a subject matter that really, quite rightly, sends warning signs to people.
exactly.
But I think also there's a duty on the GM and the players, even if all the players are comfortable with a topic like rape. I think you have a duty to treat that subject maturely.
Exactly. Maturely, you have to be serious with it. You don't go making jokes about it. And a lot of times, if I'm going to include something like that in one of my sessions, and everyone's fine with it, it's because I want to portray, whether it's through an NPC or a PC, what it's like to be perhaps a rape victim.
Yeah.
So people understand what that's like, so they can deal with that particular topic in their real lives.
Yeah, I mean,
and it can be any topic. This is just an easy example.
I mean, the only time where, as a GM, when it comes to horror, and particularly the horror game I use most, which is Cult, that game is not for the faint-hearted, and it's not for the childish.
Yeah,
I have a strict no one under 18s play that game policy.
Yeah.
I don't care who they are. I just they're not getting near it. They don't even get to look at the book.
Yeah.
Because the artwork is fairly lurid. I mean, the front cover is a manacled angel hanging over a bear trap. It sets its stall very, very quickly. But that's the only time where I am prepared to push the boundaries, because it's horror.
Yeah.
Your players should be uncomfortable. Your players should be
going.
going.
Very good for that.
Should be,
one of the things I do also, if I'm wanting to run a particular session regarding an issue or regarding a certain genre such as horror, I mention it in the interest post or the event post. Like, for example, Herbert, Order of the Empty Cup, one of my oldest campaigns. It starts off in the very first section. They interrupt a necrotic ritual, which includes children being kept alive on crucifixes, bleeding, and the blood's pouring down through the ceiling into a pentagram, an altar, and there's priests that doing other sacrifices, drinking the children's blood. So it's a very grim, very dark thing. And some people are uncomfortable with it, the idea of children sacrifices and the level of graphic detail that goes into a session like that. So right up front, by saying Herbert, you can expect there will be human sacrifices, possibly children, and it will be very graphic, very gory, very bloody. A lot of people will say, okay, that's not for me, or that's my style that I like.
Yeah.
Well, anything like that, I would know. Not even. I don't even like to read the blurb on the back of a Stephen King novel. So,
Yeah,
yeah, the word horror is in itself enough of a warning for me.
exactly. And for a lot of people, it is. But there's really light horror too that some people are fine with. There's very dark fantasy or dark horror, which is the kind of horror I'm talking about.
I
Uh,
it's
understand.
it's
I've got
sorry.
no problem with H.P. Lovecraft because, frankly, I don't find him that horrifying. He tries to achieve horror by having his characters say how horrible it was, especially in a negative sense. You know, that it was so horrible I can't really describe it. Horribly indescribable and indescribably horrible, that kind of thing. I just view him as a dark fantasy author, which is not the same thing.
yeah.
Well, I mean, first of all, you should try one of my Cthulhu games or one of Jenny's Cthulhu games,
Yeah.
and you might have a whole different opinion of H.P. Lovecraft after that.
I
Mm.
okay. I did run a sort of Cthulhu interlude in my regular fantasy game, in that the characters found themselves transported into a little pocket dimension, and I did things like finding one of the NPCs they met there dead, and it said someone seems to have mistaken him for a banana and peeled him. Or another one, someone seems to have mistaken him for a rug and unrolled him.
Yeah.
But that was as gory as it got.
Well,
Uh,
I set myself a challenge last year.
mm,
My friendly local gaming store wanted to start running, or say, gaming cafe. Yes, even death may die.
uh,
Um, they they um,
Understanding.
they started to run role-playing games on a Sunday afternoon,
mm,
and I said I would come in and do some sessions. Now I got a bunch of players who had never played a role-playing. One of them hadn't played a role-playing game before. A couple of them had only played Pathfinder. And my initial thought was to run just because they wanted to do a horror, and I wanted to do something different from Cthulhu. So I couldn't use cult
Okay.
because it's cult. Um, welcome back, Jenny.
Sorry, I've accidentally pressed refresh.
Um, and I I couldn't bring cult, so I decided I was going to write something. I ended up using the rule system True 20. And I ran a horror game that was basically cult light. It's the kind of game I would normally use cult for, but I had to dial back a lot of the descriptions because it was a Sunday afternoon in a gaming cafe and there was a lot of kids there. And so it was a real challenge to scare the shit out of the players without going into the nauseating stuff that usually comes with the descriptors when you're running cult.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a really hard challenge too, because it's like I'll record some of my one shots and some of my campaign sessions, and you want players to experience these emotions, but you also have to be conscious you have viewers who may not be of adult age.
mhm.
So I think a lot of it comes with the agreement between the players and the DM to suspend the disbelief, as it's called, or or. But then I found some of the scariest things aren't necessarily real graphic.
No.
It,
Oh no, definitely not.
one
No.
of
No,
my one of my favorites that I use, and I don't think Jenny has experienced this yet, is my mania orchid. That it basically looks like acid. If you're struck with darts from this flower, you start hallucinating. And I let players describe what they're seeing and who the characters they're seeing are, and I make it the other players. And then I usually tell them, okay, tell me who these two people are from your past that you don't like, and what are you going to do? And it normally ends up in a PvP. A, so it's kind of, it's not scary in the way it's described. It's more scary in the thought of this could actually happen. People could be hallucinating and not realize who you are.
I I I have a game scenario or the idea of a scenario that I've always wanted to run. And every time I've said to my group of players, this is the basic premise, their basic response to me has been to tell me in no uncertain terms to go sod off because it's just too much for them to handle.
Yeah.
The essential setup is there's a prison break from a psychiatric wing.
Oh,
You know,
nice.
psychiatric wing for a prison. So what you have is a white supremacist bomber, a serial killer with a thing for killing blonde women, and
Okay, that's my character right there.
and a child and a child molester who, you know, kidnaps and kills children.
I would go with the white supremacist bomber.
The player characters would be the members of the Texas Rangers, Marshal Service, trying to
Okay.
Oh, I see. Right, so trying to apprehend them. Okay.
trying to apprehend them, but you only have resources to go after them one at a time. Who'd you go for first?
Ooh.
Yep, that's
That's a tough call.
everyone. That's why everyone has told me to sod off.
Yeah. That's a tough call. I think
You end up going for the lesser of three evils, and the horror of it is the fact that you know whoever you go after, first of all, there's no guarantee you'll catch them before they do something, but
exactly.
you know for damn sure that the other two will do something, and that innocent blood is on your hands because you never went after them.
Exactly. I think my particular taste, because I'm kind of protective of kids, would be to go after the child molester first.
Yeah, that's been mostly the response. The other response I heard was the white supremacist because he's a bomber and there would be there would be far more casualties.
Yeah. That would be my second line of thinking,
You know,
and after my initial instincts would be, okay, what protects the most life?
Yeah.
The most people.
No one has actually suggested that saving blonde women was anywhere on the agenda.
No,
It has to be said. But the horror of it is having that terrible choice. That's a real human horror.
Yeah, well, they did it in Dragon Age anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's the kind of thing that makes horror terrible. It's not these graphic descriptions, although those certainly add to the atmosphere. It's those kind of choices that no matter what you do, someone's gonna die and their blood's on your hands.
Yep.
That to me is more terrible than and going in, say in Dungeons and Dragons, and stopping a necrotic cult,
That was
interrupting a sacrifice or something like that.
another classic problem in ethical philosophy. You're standing at a railroad switch. The train is coming, and it could possibly run over one of two categories of people, and then you play around with the categories. Like on one branch, there's more than one person that could run over. The other branch, there's only one, but it's someone you know.
I suppose it depends
Yeah.
on who the person is that you know. If you really
No.
didn't like them, for example, then that would change something.
Right.
Exactly.
I'm assuming that you mean you know them and you like them or you love them type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's those kinds of when it comes to horror, I like to play in those kind of moral quandaries because
Exactly.
I find them fascinating for players to have to deal with, because you can twist players inside
Yeah.
and out.
And I do that even in non-horror. A good example is one of Mary's characters, Melanie, was raised by her mother and the person that she believed was her father. Well, during the game session, and I did the twist where I revealed that her father wasn't her father. And, and I just sat back and watched as she was role playing out how she felt about this, as as what happened because as the guy who raised her was dead. So it wasn't like she could go ask him if this was true. He already had problems with her mother, uh, and now to find out her mother had cheated on her father, the the guy that raised her. So that added a whole new level of these little issues that really can change how a character acts and thinks.
You certainly can.
I'm just thinking back to that Shadows of Esteren campaign I ran and how uncomfortable I made you, Ronnie, and various other people feel at certain points.
Yeah, well, the strip search was a bit much. Um,
Wait, when was that?
No, funnily enough, I was going to bring up Shadows of Esteren as an example of. I think one of the problems that horror has is that when you say horror, people have an idea that you're either talking about modern day or the kind of classic sort of 1920s for Cthulhu. Whereas horror can really exist in any genre,
Oh
like
yeah,
sort of fantasy such as Shadows of Esteren.
definitely. One of the big things I like to do is in fantasy, I take a certain type of person, say, such as myself, someone who's handicapped, disabled, autistic, who back in medieval days, there would have been three options for me. They would have killed me. I would have been the village idiot that everyone loved and protected, or I would have been put in an asylum as being crazy. Eh, And that's historically, that's how it was in those days. Eh,
But
So putting that into like a fantasy setting, is just an interesting concept to watch how the players react.
But I admit, and I've said this on a couple of occasions, and I'm going to say it again because it needs saying. I really like Jenny as a GM. And I think that was the second campaign that I had been part of with you. The
Yes.
first one was Advanced Fighting Fantasy, which by the time it ended, that had pretty much become almost a comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually never had the pleasure of being in one of Jenny's games. Although
Well,
when talking with Jenny and hanging out, we have very similar taste and GM styles. So I'm pretty sure playing in one of her games I would love as well.
It was
I'm sure it'll be arranged.
as I say, Advanced Fighting Fantasy started serious. It started serious, but
Yeah.
as it went on and we started leveling up and really powering up, and eventually, Super Priest was born.
Is it as
And
bad as My Ridiculous group where they actually met the Smurfs?
no, you're winning that one. That's
Yeah.
that's no contest.
No. The Advanced Fantasy system just isn't. It doesn't elaborate enough on how to advance groups of people on a campaign level, and I was a bit daft and thought, oh yeah, I could go from like nothing to epic level and see how that went. But obviously, it's not designed to do that.
Yeah.
We broke
But
the
yeah,
game.
I've had some pretty
Yeah.
ridiculous groups. One person in one group, and it was fun doing it because it was specifically that light-hearted group, that is a change of pace. So I was perfectly fine. But like one time we went off for an hour, derailed because the guy was really big on making rope traps. And we just started making all sorts of rope puns. And because he was being silly, I responded with something silly like, "Oh, the ropes start talking to you." Well, you're not supposed to use us for that. You're supposed to tie up beautiful women. And then someone would make a pun, well, sounds like you and the rope have a free relationship. And just for like an entire hour, we would just make all these puns, rolling on the floor, laughing. People were in tears. And it was just a good time. But that's not normally how I like my groups. I like them a bit more serious.
Rope jokes are not fun.
Exactly. Great. But it was a pretty awesome time. I've enjoyed a wide range of people I've met that I play with, etc. Okay.
But it's but yeah, Jenny's one of the reasons I think the Shadows of Estrin campaign that Jenny ran really worked was some of the descriptions that we got from the GM were that was sleepless night time.
Yeah.
Which, as far as I'm which is the whole point. If you're running a high fantasy game that's sweeping and epic and action packed, each session you want your players going, hey! It's all heroic and yay. When you're running something like Toon, you want people basically to be doubled over in laughter for the entire session. And
Exactly.
if you're running horror, you basically want your players shit themselves.
Yep.
That's success. The sweet smell of success is people shitting themselves in a horror game.
I think for you guys, the most disturbing part was, and I won't elaborate, but it was after you had killed your arch nemesis, I believe, and then you basically met him in his own version of hell.
Yes, that was aye.
But hey, he
That
got his
eye
eternal
opener.
punishment in the end.
He
So,
did. I felt a tinge of
so
sympathy for him,
one
actually.
of the things that I find fascinating, and when we talk about descriptions, is how people draw the line between giving enough description and giving too much. Like, I want my players to be able to say, for example, if I'm describing in a forest setting, okay, there's a tree 10 feet away, I'm gonna climb it. Instead of me specifically placing a tree there saying, hey, you see this. But I want to give them enough of a description to set kind of the mood, the location, so that they understand it in perhaps a jungle, or some of the trees in this jungle are vampiric, they live off of blood, things of that nature,
Yeah.
without giving away too much.
One thing I used to do a lot, and I recently ran a little. It's a little pocket-sized kind of beer and pretzels RPG called Dungeon Slayers, and I ran a little adventure for a bunch of beginner players, and they enjoyed it. Um, but one of the things, because it was a wilderness adventure, it ended up being a dungeon crawl. But it was like a wilderness journey to get to it. And one of the things I always used to do as a shortcut, and I did it this time as well, just to immerse them and say, right, you know, you're not in Kansas anymore, was at some point during the journey, have a dragon fly overhead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just as window dressing is not part of the game, but
yeah,
dang, we're
you know, you're in a
I
fantasy world, guys.
It's,
Dragons,
yeah.
and
I'll
When I
be I'll be right back. I need to use the restroom. Feel free to continue chatting.
when I did a campaign that involved world hopping, the simplest way to let people know what happened is that evening, whoever's on watch, I say roll perception. You can take a +5. I say +5. And you say you have me looking up the stars and you realize they're different.
it's one way to do it.
Well, yeah.
It's one way to do it. Always reminds me of the Sherlock Holmes joke that.
Mm.
Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson are camping in the
Oh,
middle of the
right,
night.
that one.
You know,
I
in the
haven't
middle of the
heard
night,
the joke. Go
in the
on.
middle of the night, Holmes elbows Watson, and Watson wakes up and he says, "Look up, Watson. What do you see?" He says, "Oh, I see the stars." So, and what do you deduce from that? He says, "Oh, I deduce that they are light from stars, maybe millions of miles away, and perhaps around each of those stars, each of those suns are planets. Maybe on some of those planets there is life exactly like ours. Do you not think so,
But
Holmes?" And Holmes turns to him and said, "No, you bugger. It means someone's nicked the tent."
yeah, was that one of
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good.
one thing about putting the players in a dilemma. There's one thing that I thought about, which would be different from my usual rule that I don't use pre-made settings. But do either of you remember that in AD&D 2 there was this idea of a worldwide conspiracy among goblins and orcs and other nasties to wipe out the civilized species and take over.
I, I
Because there was supposedly this book that described it. It was a secret book, but someone had found it. I
I
wanted to. I said, now my first response was that sounds a lot like the Protocols of Zion, and I thought maybe I'll run with that. What about a campaign in which the players are part of this great um, this great coalition that's going to head off this conspiracy, and you end up wiping them out. You know, as you get to the last goblin village, and there's a bunch of goblins there, and you draw your swords, and you say this is, well,
thank
finally
you.
it's over, and they say it's never over. Your evil may have won now, but good will return. And they don't. Well, you're evil. You wrote this book. We didn't write that book. So something to that effect. That you don't realize until the very end that you've been the evil invaders. But unfortunately, that would require some changes, like eliminate alignment detection.
I I mean, I'm on the record about alignment. I'll
Yeah.
briefly sum it up. I find alignment utterly annoying. I have I have drifted away from systems that use alignment in any way, shape, or form, um, because they tend to sort of hem people in, whereas I like the idea of the players having a concept of their character and playing to that concept.
And one of the issues I have with alignment is that the alignments themselves are subjective based on your culture, your beliefs, it's, it's various factors. As,
Yep.
as like
I
for us here in the Midwest, as killing someone is considered wrong. Um, but or evil per se, bad. But what if the situation is you're saving someone else's life, etc.? Then
Um,
it's a good deed, not a bad deed.
I was going to mention, just as you were talking about alignments as a perspective, the reason I was giggling there, there's a wonderful book that I enjoy by Tom Holt called Paint Your Dragon.
Huh. Never heard
And
of
and
it.
and basically what happens is there's Saint George and the dragon get resurrected for a rematch,
Okay.
okay.
and the dragon is having a conversation with this young girl as a kind of central character to the story, and he said, well, you know, I just looked round about. He said, here was all these knights, and the knights would go around and they would rape and they would pillage and they would murder and they would burn and they would raze whole villages to the ground and all the rest of it. And they were considered good. Whereas I sort of slept and kept to myself and didn't harm anyone and occasionally took the odd sheep and cow, and I was considered evil. Well, don't say I wasn't a quick learner.
That's,
So
exactly.
he started to do all the things that were the good guys did.
Uh, in my system, I use the old one-dimensional alignment system, and everybody starts out as neutral. If you want to be something else, you have to make it. You have to prove to me that you deserve to be called good or evil.
Exactly. And
Oh, I don't know about that. I think the problem with that is that um, you're relying. I mean, we're talking about alignments being far too subjective.
yeah,
Um, that very concept of you have to prove to the GM that you're actually good or evil, there's subjectivity right there and then. This is why
Mm.
I don't like alignments in at all,
yeah,
if I can
And
help it.
also alignments can fluctuate. Like
exactly.
overall
If you
you could be good, but then at times you may act more neutral or more evil compared
Depend.
to
Yeah.
how someone else
Yeah,
thinks.
that's why
depending
most
on
that's why
situation.
people that's
Mm.
why most people just stay neutral because that's the easy alignment.
Yeah. So I actually saw an interesting question, and kind of dealing with alignment. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with Magic the Gathering, but
Um,
I
Yeah.
know what
I used to play it a long time ago.
I
half
was
someone,
introduced to it.
okay,
Yes.
someone had asked if the different mana colors could be substituted for alignment. Like you
Um,
could have a nature-based, a simply simply by using the green mana symbol. And
uh,
I was trying to ponder how this would work and how it would replace alignment because it's not really a particular belief. If
Well,
the
yeah.
green is like forest, black is like death, stuff like
Personally,
that.
I
But
don't see any connection with it to alignment. It's just types of
no.
nature. I think it's
yeah,
created after four elements. But
yeah,
obviously there are more than four.
yeah. So you couldn't really see how it would work, but I kind of liked the idea of maybe instead of alignment like good versus evil or neutral, there might be a concept or a core value. So,
Mm.
or perhaps for someone who is good by alignment, perhaps protection of life is their value. And that's what they go by, not the alignment of being good.
I um I own the Palladium fantasy role playing game,
Oh,
and
really?
it had there's an oldie, and it has an alignment system, and one its main rule before it gets to the 7 different alignments, its main rule: there is no such thing as neutral.
Yeah,
They said because every action that you take is geared either to good, evil, or self gratification.
yeah.
So the three sort of main alignments are good, selfish, and evil, and there's like a couple of um,
Levels.
variants within each. And
Yeah,
they
cause
said absolutely no neutrals.
yeah, 'cause even taking no action
Yeah,
is
Mm.
basically selfish. It's saying, "Hey, I'm not involved in this."
Okay. I'm afraid I need to get going. It was very nice talking to you guys, and
Yeah.
you'll. I hope you'll look at my YouTube channel. My next entry I'm hoping to do tonight is going to be on an idea for a really overly complicated steampunk board game.
Okay. Before you go, why don't you go ahead and tell the viewers what your YouTube channel is, how you can find it on YouTube?
Yeah, it's called the Escapist Club.
Okay. Awesome. I'll have to check it out sometime.
Okay, toodaloo.
Well, thanks for
later,
joining
chat.
us.
Bye.
Bye.
Uh, Definitely not a typical day in that I'm chatting a lot more than normal, but I'm loving every second of it. It's a nice break from all the transcription work and
Mm.
reducing videos, running sessions.
Yeah. Apart from my dressing game, pretty much having a break just because it's been so intense at the beginning of the month that I'm gonna sort of let my brain get back into it naturally. And also, it's getting to the end of term, so my just physically and mentally I'm exhausted.
Yeah,
So
that's how I've been because I'm putting in 40 to 80-hour weeks between making videos, transcribing, running games, and and, and like this is today is totally refreshing for me because it's something I don't normally do. It's light, even though we've talked about world building, we've talked about different topics. But it's really nice, even though in an hour and a half it will be a 9-hour stream. So I do expect a whole bunch of people to watch it as a video. I've been surprised we've constantly been at least 1 or 2 viewers, and they've been kind of alternating. So that kind of surprised me that someone would sit and watch us for this long.
now here's a question for you, Jarin.
Yeah,
Are you
what's up?
running a game or two for BrigadeCon?
I am actually running 3 things for BrigadeCon.
Oh.
One is going to be a DM's panel, open forum, so kind of like we're doing now. And with those, I normally have 4 DMs. I try to have one that's a very special guest. The first one I had Don Vergecast. The second one I had Matt Click from Absolute Tabletop. The third one was supposed to be Barker, but he ended up not being able to make it. So I didn't really have a guest, and then he did a live interview with me the next day to make up for missing something he had said he would do. So I tried to have that one kind of special person who's someone I know pretty good, someone who I've seen some of this stuff. Then I have like 3 other DMs, and I leave one spot for a player to come in. And then we just sit and talk. And one of the things I make sure I do by the end of it is I let the player ask a question that they wish they could ask their GM and get feedback from all the DMs. So I'm going to be running that. I'm going to be doing a one-shot. Probably one of my fairy tale adventure one-shots because people seem to really enjoy playing in those and watching those.
And that will definitely attract new players.
Yeah. And then I'm probably gonna do an evening session as well, and that's probably gonna be a session 0/session 1 of a new campaign.
Cool.
Okay. So that's kind of my plans right now. I have signed up as attending BrigadeCon. I'll be doing a promo video for it probably tomorrow.
Nice.
Which I'm pretty excited about because this will be my first convention.
I was going to say, yeah, this is your first.
Yeah, I've never even gone to a convention.
Really?
Yeah.
The, well,
So
near,
ReggaeCon would be my first.
I've the first gaming convention I went to, which
Okay,
was
hold on just a second. We have someone asking for the link to join the Hangout. So I'll post it in the YouTube chat.
There it is.
yeah, the first gaming convention I went to was a couple of weeks ago.
So Jenny's the pro at the conventions for us.
Yeah.
I suppose. Yeah, I've heard a few games at one convention, but it's by far the biggest in the UK. And I have now attended a couple more. Hey, Kyle.
Hey, welcome back, Kyle.
Yeah, I finally got back around after getting my ass kicked in Armada. So,
Cool.
and yes, I got my ass kicked. So, it was fun, but it was a beating.
Yeah, Jenny had just asked me if I was gonna do anything for BrigadeCon, and I had explained I'm planning on running a DM's panel, a Fairy Tale Adventure one-shot, and then launching a new campaign. So I'll be pretty busy during BrigadeCon.
No offense to Richard and them, but last year they scheduled me at midnight on a night I had to be up at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I'm probably not going to do BrigadeCon.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's one of the things I have to get with them about is particular time slots.
yeah. So, yeah. I didn't figure you guys would want to see my half-naked body, so I figured I'd just throw a shirt on. Lay down.
So, I am curious who else is going to be running stuff for BrigadeCon. I know there are several people planning on participating, but I haven't heard much on what they're running or if they're gonna run anything, stuff along those lines.
Last time we had, let me think, about 50 DMs. A good amount of DMs. This year there's gonna be more, I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
I hope so. Jenny, I need to apologize to you for the other day because I feel like I chased you out of that call, and I did not intend to.
What call?
Jesus, who was in that call? I don't remember who all was in the call, but I chased you out of the call. I feel like I chased you out of the call. Even if I didn't chase you out of the call, it doesn't matter. I'm apologizing for it anyways. I feel like I chased you out of the call.
The last time I was in was with another game. I don't even remember.
No, it wasn't a game. It was just a general BS call, and you had hopped in, and we were making some rather crude comments. I feel like I may have gone a little bit further than I probably should have.
I did? Oh, jeez, I don't even remember.
Yeah, neither do I really. I don't remember exactly what I said, but you got red in the face right before you left. Not like that, but so,
oh, this could have been a while ago.
yeah, I think it was like a week and a half ago or more. So, but I still feel bad about it because I don't like feeling like I've chased somebody out of the call.
Yeah.
Because calls are meant to be for everyone, not just us.
Exactly.
Us ridiculously crass sons of bitches. I apologize. Even if you don't remember it, it doesn't matter.
No, I'm afraid I don't.
So,
I think I was in that call too, because it sounds really familiar. But
I do appreciate though that you were concerned. That's really nice.
well, for all the inherent fucked upness I go through, I am inherently a nice guy, and I always apologize when I've done something wrong. So, even if people don't ask for it, because I expect people to apologize to me when they fucked me over. So, by the way, if you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm getting ready to wait. Once these models are done fucking drying from the primer, I'm gonna start gluing them together.
awesome.
I'm getting ready to start building my Warma Hordes armies back up.
Cool. I never really got into miniatures or like terrain building, game prop crafting. I find it interesting, and one of my big things is I don't have a dedicated gaming space.
I game at my LGS. So,
My gaming space is my living room.
Yeah, like right now, I'm literally if you could see my room set up, I have my office chair here, which is where I do my recording.
I painted the air adventure.
Oh, awesome. I have my desk that my computer's on in front of me, and on the other side of that's my bed. But I have that specifically set up for the days when my arthritis is so bad that I can't sit up. That way I can still work on the computer and do my normal thing. I can DM from my bed,
Yeah.
etc.
Hey, Jared, I understand your blues. Before I moved out on my own, I lived in 130 square feet.
That's about what I have, I think, between my bedroom and my living room.
I used to have 130 square feet in my entire house. And now I'm in an 800 square foot trailer, which, by the way, they just adjusted my rent on. Thank you, God. I'm losing $3 a month on rent, so which means I actually gained an additional $3 a month.
My God.
Cool.
Mine's going up £30 a month.
Yeah, but you live in England, so everything's going up.
Apart from gas and electricity, which is secretly going down, but they don't like to admit that.
In all seriousness, and the one political thing I'll say, I'm curious to see what Brexit's going to do to all your pricing.
Jeez, I'm trying not to think about it.
I was talking to Lloyd Guyan about it the other day, and because he lived right on the city limit of London.
Yeah.
Right next to the city of London. Or is it city or town of London?
City.
London's definitely a city.
Yeah.
It's a capital.
He actually lives right there on the border where everything goes from being like reasonable to, oh my God, who in God's name thought you could actually afford this?
Yeah, I essentially live on the border as well, if you want to call it a border. I'm very close to the M25.
But you might as well call it a border because it's like two different groups of people living there.
Yeah, but where I'm situated, it kind of dribbles out a bit.
Yeah.
So essentially, I'm in London, but with a lot more trees.
Nice. I like London.
It's London prices, anyway.
One city I need to visit all the way through. I know a lot about the history of Europe, but I've never been. Is London. I need to go to Scotland. I need to go to Ireland. But I need a lot of money to do this. So.
Well, Scotland's a big place.
I particularly want to go to Edinburgh, and I want to go to a couple of the places that William Wallace fought at.
Okay.
He's one of the last Scottish balls.
Yes. First thing you need to know about William Wallace, he had a beard and he was well over 6 feet.
Yeah, I know.
He was not, and he did not have the look and stature of a diminutive Australian actor.
Where's that statue at in Scotland? Is that in Edinburgh? The statue of him?
I think it's Stirling.
Is that Sterling? There's a huge statue to him though, and I want to go see it.
Cool. Yeah, I have a couple places I would like to visit as well. A big one for me is Turkey.
I wouldn't go there right now.
Oh no, not right now. I want sometime when it's settled. But I love kind of the Persian and culture.
I wouldn't go right now because of the political climate.
Yeah, the political thing right now is too much for me to handle. But I would like to go some point when it's calm, when
I've got friends who've
you
been to
see
Turkey.
the sights and not worry about your
If
safety.
you want to go to Turkey or somewhere like Turkey that's actually a lot safer, go to Cyprus.
Yeah, Cyprus would be cool. Greece.
Cyprus is actually it's part of the Greek Republic, so it's safer than Turkey, but it has the same vibe as Turkey.
Yeah, and I've always liked
technically-
Greek mythology, so.
Technically, half of Cyprus is part of Greece.
Yeah.
The other half is owned by Turkey.
So you go to the eastern or western half of Cyprus. That's what you do. You can drive across Cyprus in a day.
Yeah, Cyprus is Cyprus is split in half.
Yeah, it's not very big. It's a very tiny country. Tiny.
Yeah, but it's co-owned.
So, so here's a question for you guys, since I know like all of you are DMs and we were talking earlier on things like how do you include real world cultures, epic ballads, and kind of that flavor into your games.
If you're me, you write an entire setting that's devoted to 1455 Europe.
Okay.
You do. I have an entire setting that's devoted to 1455 Europe.
Okay.
That's a very precise number.
Yeah, and that's interesting because for me, I don't take like a particular year. I'll take like the flavor or the feel of a time period.
Yeah. Hang on. Let me bring something up real quick.
I think for me, the culture is shaped through what the players and the NPCs and everyone else does.
Damn you, I
Especially if it's like in an ever-changing climate. There may be older traditions, but I love the concept of things changing.
Yeah.
Because of the players and because of things that the players are related to. It's not like the players are the center of the universe, but so there's like old stuff they can fall back on, but also there's the new stuff that they may want to comb into the world, and then they make the culture out of that.
Yeah.
There you guys go. It's a 62.
Oh, my neck.
Cool.
It's actually compliant.
All right. Okay.
So
cool.
I have a history written for all the races. I took out a couple of the classes. There's no warlocks. Bards don't function the same. There's no paladins. Paladins have been replaced with the Knights Templar.
Nice.
My halflings are gypsies.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume that this is D&D 5e.
Yes. Just because it's the easiest setting to write it for.
To go with the old Sesame Street song, three of these things belong together. One of these things is kind of different. I'm the guy who doesn't own 5e.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Everyone else has 5e. I have no interest in it. I'll play it if someone's running it, but I have no interest in buying it.
Yeah.
Don't feel guilty about it. It's actually a good game.
I don't.
It's I wouldn't have used it if it wasn't so readily available, and the fact that I could convert. Theoretically, I could convert everything in this to say Savage Worlds and be just as good.
Yeah.
Well, that's the system I need to play. I've never played Savage Worlds.
Savage Worlds is a whole different.
I think that's the main system that I need to get into that I haven't played yet. The other one was Call of Cthulhu, but obviously I'm into that now. Savage Worlds is the only one.
So I went out today and got myself some new books.
Mm-hmm.
So they got me some new game stuff. I got hardcover books I've been needing to review.
Oh yeah, I heard about that sort of Conan with Savage Worlds thing.
No, it's not even Savage Worlds. It's its own system. My buddy wrote it.
Oh right, never mind.
No, there is a Conan-like Savage Worlds game, but it's not called Savage Kingdoms. Everyone assumes that's Savage.
Oh, okay.
Savage in the name.
Okay, good. I'm not just imagining it.
But I'll try and come up with a one shot or something, Jenny, and run Savage Worlds and let you have a feel for the system.
Oh yeah, sure.
Cool. I would be interested as well.
I occasionally run Xenomorph Savage Worlds games.
Cool.
Do you know what I'd most be interested in? Acton Cthulhu with Savage Worlds.
Ooh.
Because the whole point is that it's compatible with the Cthulhu rules and the Savage Worlds rules. In fact, I've got the PDFs.
Yeah.
I get to read them now.
That's a mess.
Excuse me. So, but for me, I do a lot of generic flavor, or like Egyptian is definitely one that's easy to recognize as pyramids, obelisks, onyx.
I run so many different systems. I have to find a good system to fit the worlds I want. And since I decided that I wanted my Xenomorph games to be kind of cinematic rather than highly lethal like a lot of people want them to be,
Yeah.
I want you to feel a little more potent, even though you can die pretty easily from a Xenomorph. I've made my Xenomorph so they can kill you pretty simply. But I run it in Savage World so it feels more cinematic. You can do more crazy shit with it. In fact, I actually have a book that's about halfway done right now translating Alien Fusion to Savage Worlds,
Cool.
which is pretty simple to do. I have a couple of books that are like half written. That's my problem.
Oh. But that's one of the ways I add flavors from a particular, like, real world culture. It just takes simple things that people would recognize and add them into a fantasy setting.
But yeah, so if you guys are ever curious on playing the Xenomorph game, let me know. I love
Nice.
it.
It looks interesting.
I'm a huge Alien fan. Like a ridiculously huge Alien fan. I got to write this chapter still. I got to write the Corp chapter, and then I've got character creation started,
Cool.
which is going to take a while to get all the way through because I'm starting to translate all the armors and equipment, and then I got to start converting the Xenomorphs as well.
Cool. Looks pretty interesting.
It'll be a long ride. I'm thinking it's going to be around 130 to 140 pages.
Like,
I have
pretty good sized PDF.
Do what?
Pretty good sized PDF.
Yeah, it's not as big as my. It's not as large as my Planescape book I wrote, but of course, very rarely is anything that large. People try and they can't get books that large. Like Nelson's been writing Saturday Morning Tabletop, and his game's only like 160 or 170 pages. It took me 7 months to write a 240-page book.
So, here's a question, because we all have different games we play in. We DM. We have other projects such as writing PDFs, creating YouTube videos. How do you plan a productive schedule without taking too much on?
I did in this last week. I got eaten up, and I actually had to back my Wednesday game up a week because I was not prepared to run 4 times in 5 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I have that problem. Even when I cut my groups and my sessions down to like 2, because I have a fantasy book I'm writing that the publisher's interested in. I have like 12 different PDF supplement ideas that I'm working on. I'm transcribing videos for so many channels. I'm running 2 to 4 sessions a week. I've been putting out at least 3 videos on YouTube a week. So, for me, it's a full-time job, basically. But I'm kind of interested in how people kind of balance their projects and determine what project to work on when and things of that nature.
I'm a big fan of when I run games that I'm like when I get issues of like running multiple games in too short of a time. I realize I do okay if I'm running the same system over that period of time. But like this last week, I played in an L5R. I had Sunday off. Monday I played in a D&D game. Tuesday I ran DCC. Wednesday I was supposed to run Call of Cthulhu, and Thursday I ran L5R.
Hardcore.
Yeah. So Sunday was supposed to be a Deadlands game.
And I assume you had other projects and things going on during
I'm a
that
full-time
time
student.
too. Yeah. So how do you balance kind of your deadlines with essays and assignments and your gaming schedule and
I
just
I make time
different
for what I
things?
love. Honestly, if it wasn't for gaming, and all I did was schoolwork, I would off myself. I could not.
Yeah.
School's getting harder and harder. I only have 5 classes left, including the ones I'm in.
Oh, that's not bad,
So
but
I'm
it's
almost done with a bachelor's degree. So
nice. So how about you, Ronnie? How some of the ways you handle balancing a schedule and different projects?
Um, I just to put the following of what I'm about to say in context. I have been gaming man and boy for 30 years now. Um, so I'm an old timer at this.
way to make me feel young.
Um,
Hey, I'm
I
young too.
I have gotten to the point where I game when I feel ready to game, and I never feel pressure to put a game on. Um, I just don't, if I'm not feeling it, it doesn't happen. If the players aren't interested,
Yeah.
if players are annoyed, then it's a shame. But
My life,
um,
real life comes first. Gaming comes second.
yeah. Um, I at the moment I'm only running a session every fortnight. Uh,
Not a bad thing though. See, to get one game every couple of weeks, sometimes you need that. And sometimes, like with me right now, one of the things I need is I need to play more than I run. I've played
Yeah,
GM hat so much.
yeah, and that's one of my issues is I'm starting to get burned out on running games and doing a lot of these extra projects that are fun to do. I love doing them, but I've done so much of it over the last 6 months.
I'm honestly, I'm at a point where if I don't get to play at least once a week, I'm gonna scream because I actually dropped a group because they kept begging me to play, and I was having a lot of emotional health issues and mental health issues. Well, I don't understand why you can't run. Guys, if I have to explain to you that I'm on the border of hospitalization and that's why I can't run, then I probably shouldn't be playing with you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If I have to explain to you what bipolar does to you when you're under stress, then you probably
Exactly.
should not be gaming with me.
Hey,
That's something that I actually told the guy I was gaming with today playing Armada. I appreciated the fact that the group has kind of opened up and basically has opened up and welcomed me into their group because a lot of people can't put up with me because I have so many neuroses.
yeah.
It's hard to put up.
So, oh, Jenny, how about you? What's some of the tips and tricks you use for balancing your schedule between making videos, DMing?
I love how you asked me for tips and tricks. I'm still learning because honestly, I don't know. I'm always so busy with all kinds of projects that are sort of ongoing. I am very much about making time, though. I'm very used to that, and I've done that with music a lot in like my earlier years. So I'm used to making time for things. But then what tends to happen is that other things are put on the back burner, either for
Yep,
better or for worse. And quite often after that, I have to spend some time, like now, for example, having a bit of a chilling period of not doing much of something in order to catch up on something else or dedicate more time to it is a better way to put it. So at the minute, I'm doing a lot less gaming, but I'm doing more with music. I'm finishing up with my my job term. I'm not like leaving the job, but it's like the end of term, so I get to go on holiday for a bit. so I've got to sort of recuperate from that and things like that. So
Yes, I
So,
know totally what you mean. I do a lot of the same things where I'll take a week or two where I don't run any games. I may not post any YouTube videos as kind of a way for me to recharge. And usually during that time, I try to play as many games as I can. Or I'll just sleep, I'll watch movies, read books. Uh, and that's a necessary thing for me. But on a normal basis, for me, what tends to happen is I have a very set schedule. Or okay, these hours I'm doing transcription work. This hour of this day I have a session to run. And this time is my networking time. I and because I do so much of that, from the time I get up to time I go to bed, I'm constantly doing something. And a lot of times I'll give up sleep to be catching up on work that I didn't get done because something came up. Uh, or For example, this last week, one of my friends had to go to the hospital. One of my ex-girlfriends, and who I'm still good friends with, uh, because she has heart problems. I had to take 4 or 5 hours out of my work day to go make sure she was okay. She had a way to the hospital, a way home. And then that night, I didn't sleep because I had stuff I had planned on getting done that I didn't do.
Anyway, guys, that is midnight here in the UK, and
oh jeez, it is, isn't it?
and
Yes.
I'm about to
Right.
turn into a pumpkin. So
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go too. I have a big day tomorrow.
yeah.
Okay.
Work.
So thanks everyone for allowing me to come on. And,
Oh, my
chat away.
pleasure.
And
Yeah, cheers, Jaron.
I'll see you anon. See you later. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ronnie.
So that's just some of the things I do to kind of try to balance my schedule, and I'll kind of try to rotate weeks where I have a heavy week of projects and then a light week.
Ah, Christ.
Like,
I'm gonna have to get some alcohol for my hands. It's like a process all over me. Anybody else want a white primer off me?
oh no.
You good?
So we have about an hour left in the stream, believe it or not. And we've had at least one viewer the entire time. Which is pretty amazing to me considering this was a 9-hour stream. Okay. So
Good that you got some people that come through and hang out with you.
yeah, we've had people coming in and out the entire time. I don't think I've been by myself in chat for more than half an hour the entire time.
Well, I would have hung out more. Like I said, I'd made plans a couple of days ago to go play some Armada. And
Yeah, and that's
when
perfectly fine.
Yeah, and when people say, "Hey, let's go play Armada," and you're like, "Hey, a chance to get my ass kicked again. Have fun doing so."
Yeah.
To do it.
Yeah, I actually didn't do quite as much of my normal routine as I wanted because we did have a lot of people chatting. But we've had a good time just kind of relaxing, talking about different topics. And
It's good, though. It's a good thing.
yeah, it's been really refreshing. Like, I haven't done any transcription work today. I was gonna do some role building. We did a little bit the brainstorming, a little bit of showing the basic concept of how microscope RPG, how they would be used for world building. And then we just kind of talked about different topics.
Yeah, sounds like it. I like to build worlds, man. I have some good worlds in my head.
I like to too, but one of my things is more than world building. I like story building.
Yeah, story building's fun to me too, but sometimes you have to have a world before you build a good story. So
Exactly, you have to have a setting before you can really get into a good story.
like my European setting, I've had my players fight Polyphemus, and I've had them fight the Minotaur.
Nice.
Not a Minotaur either, the Minotaur. As in the guy that guarded Daedalus.
Yeah, the Minotaur of Kronos, I think is.
Minus.
Or minus. That's it.
He guarded Adrian String was the only way around him.
Yes, I remember the myth. I just was having trouble placing the name.
That's all good. They actually had to go into the labyrinth and retrieve Adrian's string.
Nice.
So yeah, they had some fun with it. My group will tell you they have fun with it for the most part.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get into some of the historical games that I see being run. Lloyd Collins runs a bunch.
I'll keep my opinion about that to myself.
And I've seen you have some more historical based stuff.
Out of respect for your channel, I'll keep my opinion about Lloyd Collins to myself on a live broadcast.
Yes, please.
I won't.
But I don't personally have anything against him. I don't really know him that good.
Well, no, trust me.
But I like the idea people are running historical.
Yeah,
I
enjoy historical games, which is why I wrote a historical supplement.
Yeah, and I thought I've always been interested in playing in one, but it would be easier for me as a player to do a culture I'm more familiar with.
But that's the cool thing with my world setting. I've told people this before. The whole idea was for me to give you the baseline setting, and then to let other GMs take it and run with it.
Yeah.
So that like if somebody wanted to take it to the Far East and explain what's going on in the Far East at the same time what's happening in Europe is going on, feel free to do so. You can tie it all together.
Yeah. Like for me, I saw a one-shot one time that never happened. I was fascinated by the concept of playing a Native American back with in the English-ish and Christopher Columbus and all those first discovered what we call America.
Yep. Which would have been the Caribbean, but yeah.
Yeah, the Caribbean, but the concept of white man coming into North America.
I have an idea for a Call of Cthulhu game where you have to take out or investigate an authentic Native American Wendigo. Not that crappy white-furred monstrosity people call the Wendigo. An actual Wendigo.
And some of the concepts, oh man, if you actually study the skinwalkers,
the Noggle,
just the concept of a skinwalker to me is just terrifying.
Oh, they are. They're mortifying. They're absolutely scary.
Hey, but you hear all these other cultures and sci-fi have these shape changers, doppelgangers, and it's nothing. It's not.
I'm a big.
That heavy.
I'll tell you what, Jarin. If I do run historical game, even if it's like a Rome game or something, I'd be happy to let you know.
Oh, please do. I would find it fascinating. And there are certain cultures I'm more familiar with. Native American being a big one.
Well,
I know a little bit about like samurai and
you want to get into samurai, let me
Japanese.
know, because we run L5R on a regular basis.
Oh, awesome.
So,
The big thing with systems I'm not familiar with is I would either need a pre-gen or help making a character, like we did with the Vampire the Masquerade.
yeah, the best thing to do with L5R is to make your own character and have somebody walk you through it, because L5R characters are so personal. Like,
Yeah.
for example, my character in L5R, he's a Dragon Clan Bushi. He's a samurai, Dragon Clan samurai.
Okay.
Orphaned as a child, and he was rescued on the side of the road by the Kinku.
Cool.
And so what happened is they raised him as a Kinku, and then when he came to the age of Genpaku, which is the age of adulthood, the age of manhood, they basically thrust him back into Rokugani society so he could reacclimate himself to humanity. And so now he struggles with understanding Rokugani society.
Nice.
At the same time as he's struggling to understand the society that he's been rethrust into, he's still trying to live his life the way he's supposed to, according to the morals and values he was taught as a Kinku swordsman.
Nice.
So I have a very vivid backstory for the character.
Yeah, sounds like it. But to me, that would be fascinating playing something like that.
If you get Springy, there's a video series on the channel. There's 5 videos on it. All of them are L5R, drop in, drop out games. Me and Chris Will are mostly the ones running them.
Yeah, Chris Wilhelm's another one that I would love to get in some of his historical stuff.
He's a good GM.
Just having seen some of the interest posts he's put out, they've caught my attention, but I've never had the opportunity.
If you ever get Springy about it, let me send you the link to the actual video series.
Yeah, if you could over Facebook, that would be great.
I'm not sure if I'm friends with you on Facebook. Let me check. I'm not sure 100% if I am.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we are.
I think we are too, but I don't remember. Yeah, we are. Here we go. Here we are.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
I'll pull that up in a bit. And
It's a good. It's a pretty good little video series. It's got 6 videos. There's one on there by Chester Murray as well.
cool. Oh, I'm not particularly familiar with him.
He's a
The
good guy.
name sounds familiar, though.
Chester's another good guy. I like Chester a lot.
Yeah.
He's a super guy. Our L5R group is full of people that are just good people. So
Cool.
if you ever get curious about playing L5R, let us know. We'd be happy to have you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I especially like the idea of it being a drop in, drop out.
And that's the whole concept behind it. Is the other reason we did it that way was that what happens when you run L5R a lot of the time is one person has to wear the damn GM hat all the time.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, he never gets ever. And that happens a lot to Chris Wilhelm. And it happens a lot to me when I run. So now what we do is we drop in, drop out. And that way, both me and Chris and everyone who wants to GM can GM, but we can also get a chance to play every now and again.
Yeah. And that's really nice because I know, like me, I have a game tonight. But that will be my first game in like a month and a half that I've been a player at.
Yeah. I got into Josh London's long-term Prince of the Apocalypse game.
Nice.
So
I am curious as how stuff like that goes because I've never really played modules. I've never really DM'd modules. I started to with my Order of the Empty Cup.
Mhm.
The very first group, we started with the Keeper on the Borderlands module.
I love that. I have a copy of that. I have a hard copy of that laying around.
Oh, nice. And by the time they had gone in and saved the gem merchant, I had a whole nother plot line.
Yeah, sounds about like.
And this whole big epic campaign that I'm running 30 years later because no groups ever finished the campaign all started with the module. But that was like the only time I've ever used one.
There you go.
Oh, that's so sweet. I wish I had a hard copy.
Borderlands. I also have a hard copy of Vault of the Drow,
Nice.
which is nice. I also have a hard copy of Paladin Hell by Monty Cook.
Yeah. One of the things I would love to see done is a lot of the old modules brought back and redone for 5th edition.
I'd be okay if they brought back the Dragonlance Classic line.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple things with like Ravenloft, some of that being transferred to 5e.
Well, no, I mean, Ravenloft is full scale. I-10 has been completely transferred in Curse of Strahd.
Yeah, Curse of Strahd is a big one.
It's just all it is I-10.
Yeah, so I would love seeing a lot of the old modules that haven't been transferred over, like Keep of the Borderlands. I would love to see that, a version of that done specifically for 5e.
Now, you know the next one, Storm Giant's Revenge?
Yeah.
Revenge is just against the Giants.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as it was.
It's just against the Giants.
And I have a feeling they're going to be doing that a lot and kind of renaming modules and having the same.
Out of the Abyss is just Queen of the Demon Web Pits, Bolt of the Drow, and the one before that.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It ends a little differently. I don't think you kill Loth in the Demon Web Pits in the end of Out of the Abyss, but.
So I think it's interesting to see some of what they're doing, but I would like to see a lot. One of my favorite modules, and I've never run the module, but I've used the concept, was Melford Mystery.
Have you ever?
And the whole thing was a murder mystery.
Have you ever played Reverse Dungeon?
No, I haven't.
Whole point of Reverse Dungeon is you play something like a goblin, and you're trying to drive adventurers out of your cave.
Okay. I did do a one-shot that I ran that I called Hebo Invasion, where everyone played a monster race.
Mhm.
And they had basically inhabited this dungeon, and they were trying to set up traps, recruit other monsters to keep adventurers out. And it was interesting, but it just didn't seem to have a wide appeal to people. Which surprised me, because I was like, okay, I played D&D for 30 some odd years. I can count maybe 3 or 4 times in that 30 years I was allowed to play a monster race. So I thought there would have been a lot more interest in it, but it just really didn't seem like there was.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of a big fan of running modules. Some of the modules from second edition in particular are amazing.
Oh yeah, I love taking like concepts out of modules.
Well,
And then
take an example. Menzo Branson, the original Menzo Branson second edition.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely amazing module.
Yeah. But yeah, I would love to see more of that kind of stuff being done. Because a lot of what I find nowadays is everything's homebrewed, or they don't use the common settings that we grew up with in like first and second edition, except for the setting of Forgotten Realms. I do see quite a bit of Forgotten Realms being done, but you got Dark Sun, you got Dragonlance.
I've got, from the 2E box sets, I've got Birthright, Council of Worms, Dark Sun, Dragonlance, Forgotten Realms, Planescape, and Ravenloft and Spelljammer.
Yeah.
So I
And
have pretty much all the settings.
yeah. And now of those I've seen Ravenloft being run with Curse of Strahd.
Mhm.
I've seen a couple Planescape games, played in one with Posey.
Mhm.
Hey, and then I've seen Forgotten Realms.
I've run a Dark Sun 5e.
Yeah, I think I remember that. I wasn't able to play at that time because of my schedule. Oh, I haven't seen like Spelljammer being run in probably 10, 15
There are
years.
people who run it in 5e. It's been a long time since I've seen one. Spelljammer is really, I don't know, it's too easy.
Yeah,
There's not a lot of catches. Running things like Ravenloft in 5e is really awkward. Run like authentic Ravenloft, not the Curse of Strahd module. The actual box set
yeah,
is awkward. Or trying to run, say, Birthright, you have to convert the mass combat rules.
exactly. So I would love to see some of these things in systems and modules rewrote for 5e.
Mhm.
But I know that's a lot of work. There may not be huge interest in it, although I believe there would be quite a bit of interest in bringing back some of the old settings and new settings. And
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the settings. So, like I said, I own a lot of them in hard copy.
yeah, I wish I did, but given and where I live and the fact I'm not on my own yet, I just don't have room for it.
Mhm.
It's not really smiled upon in my neck of the woods, if you kind of know what I mean. I'm
I
smack dab in middle of the Bible Belt.
join the party. I grew up in a fundamentalist Christian household.
Yeah, so you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
It's only been recently that my parents have started kind of opening their minds to it in that I kind of explained what role playing was because they went to a murder mystery dinner
Mhm.
and they got picked as people to participate in this murder mystery. And I explained that's all we do. The only difference is,
You use dice.
yeah, you use dice to determine what happens, and there's no set script.
Right.
And that started opening up their minds a little bit more. They still kind of don't understand what it's about, but it's got them asking some questions. And for now, that's all I want. I don't want to push it too much at 2 months. That's, well, we got Half an hour. Wow. Man, time flies.
That's when you're having fun.
Yeah. Almost 9 hours, and it's like,
I'm a big.
where did it go? Seems like we just started.
I will eventually beat you, Jeff. I will eventually beat you. I got some pictures up on my wall of our game today.
Cool.
Felt a little blurry because the camera I was using sucks, but damn that ISD. And that Gladiator.
But man, I can't believe how much we've talked about. We've talked about everything from being sensitive to players with certain topic issues, to accessibility, to how we do role building, organizing, to just all sorts of different things. We've mentioned all sorts of different systems and settings that we like.
It's kind of where I'm at. We used to do these hangouts like this for 8, 10, 12 hours at a time. So
Yeah, and I actually miss that, because even within the Power Up Gamers group, when we first started, we had some of my regular players and me. When we weren't in a session, we would hang out for 5 hours, just chatting about wherever came up. And we've kind of got away from that, partially because of how busy I've been, and partially because people have jobs, school, their own life, and that's all fine and good. And then, like, here recently, I posted a couple outs in the Power Up Gamers group, and no one would show up. So after like an hour, I would just say, okay, I'm gonna end the hangout. I'm gonna tell everyone the event's over, and I'm gonna carry on doing whatever I was doing beforehand. But it's nice to have these long hangouts where people come and go, and especially since you can revisit the same topic a couple times. I'm with different people who weren't there for a certain section of the hangout.
yeah, that's one of the best parts, man. It really is.
So,
Piece of shit roller. Go get a damn tape measure. Circle Orberos.
so here's a question, and for you, what setting or what world or system would you like to run something in that you have never gotten to run?
That's a good question. I run pretty much everything I want to run, and I kind of have settled on a handful of really good settings now that I actually really enjoy. My big thing, honestly, right now is I'm trying my best to kind of settle into a couple of systems, because I have different games that I own. I own somewhere around 40 or 50 different systems.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, a ton of systems. And so I'm really trying to get where I'm really playing steadily 3 or 4 different systems,
Yeah.
and then occasionally branching out into some of the other games I have. Like
Yeah.
Sunday, I'm supposed to run a game of a live game of Edge,
Cool.
which will be kind of fun.
I think for me, one of the biggest ones that I would love to do is something in Star Wars. It's probably Edge of Empire because that's the one I've actually played and I'm somewhat familiar with. But just that setting of Star Wars, I think, would be fun and to try.
I've run it for years, so.
But it's something I've never really run. I haven't played with much. I pretty much stick close to 5e. Vampire the Masquerade would be another one that I would find interesting to be a player. And I've kind of given up on the one we made the character for because it never seems to happen. And I don't know if it's just people's schedules or what.
Mm-hmm.
But I find the idea of changing up systems and expanding outward to something I haven't tried, it's refreshing to me because I've been playing 30 some odd years. Yes, I've only done 5e for maybe a year or so.
Yeah.
Before that, it was basically Redbox and second edition. I didn't really do 3.0. I played 3.5 like once. I never played first edition. But 5e's the edition of D&D I would like. I did play a couple sessions of Dungeon Mode. I liked what I played. It's kind of a shame that group fell apart.
Yeah.
I liked my Pyromaniac Salamander.
Ran through. I'll tell you, one of the better games I've played in a while was Dungeon World with Nelson.
No, cool.
Runs a good game.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people I've seen that I've watched a session of theirs that look like they would be awesome to play with, and just I either never ever catch them posting sessions, or I'm busy on the times that they post them, and
Yeah.
so I'm really looking forward to kind of the change up in my own schedule. I'm doing a lot more on with the YouTube channel, or I'm planning on doing perhaps one video a week where it's like a PDF review, or perhaps answer a couple questions, but most of them I'm gonna try to be doing more along the lines of video responses.
Yeah, it's a good.
And those are like 5 to 10 minute deals here and there.
Bad idea.
And part of that is I'm at the point where I have basically 75 videos on my channel. Oh, the last 3 or 4 videos have gotten like 5 to 10 views.
Nice.
Well, kind of nice. Oh, hey, Infinite. Just seen you come into our YouTube chat. But one of my things is I'm a little bit disappointed because of the first 5 or 6
Yep.
it's months because we're going on like our 7th month as a YouTube channel. Oh, we had like anywhere between 15 to 50 was our average views. We'd have lots of comments, and that's kind of slacked off.
Yeah, that happens quite often, unfortunately.
Part of it is, I think, I'm oversaturating by the amount of content I put out, because I put out 3 to 5 videos a week, almost every week.
That's possible. You may want to slow down.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about changing to like 2 video responses a week and what would be my normal videos. That will help ease that up. So starting next week, I'm gonna be doing that. I'm gonna be spending less time transcribing, more time playing games, probably sticking to running 2 sessions a week.
Good idea.
And just kind of take a break.
It's a good idea. That's what I would do.
Yeah, Infinite but saying record the videos, upload them, and set them to a scheduled release. That actually is an idea I need to get back to. I was doing that with the DM's Crutch every Friday at 2 p.m. Central.
Yep.
I would record my DM's Crutch and it would be live stream. And people would, I had viewers coming in watching it live. I had people who would watch it over the weekends. But I've gotten to where I record everything live stream.
Cool.
So I really need to set a schedule back up saying, okay, this day at this time I'm going to be doing a live stream video response. This day I'm going to be recording a live play session, etc.
Yeah, see, that's not a bad idea. That way you don't oversaturate, and then you're able to do what you want with your channel rather than feeling like you're a slave to what other people think you should.
Exactly. And I'm not having so much the slave issue. It's more the oversaturation, I think, is a big key. Another key I've seen is watching the number of views on my channel.
Mm-hmm.
Or the shorter videos get more views.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying earlier. Is that's a problem on my channel. A lot of my videos are very long too.
Yeah, and that's typical for a live gameplay.
Yeah, it's very typical for a live gameplay, but it shouldn't be for a regular video play, for a regular play.
Yeah. But I found short videos of anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes. It is really kind of the sweet spot.
Yeah, anything longer than about 20 minutes, people lose interest in it. That's a problem.
Yeah. That's why I'm so amazed. Like today, we've had constant viewers for hours and hours.
Yeah.
In about 20 minutes will be a 9-hour stream. And I'm shocked we've had that response. I expect there will be a couple of my viewers who will probably watch at least part of the video, if not all of it.
Yep.
Or they'll break it down into segments to watch. But I kind of did this because I wanted to kind of show what I did in a typical day, even though it didn't turn out that way.
It happens.
Hey, but we've just been having fun just chilling.
And those hard parts to get on them. There we go. Glue together. Glue, bitch, glue. I'm gluing together minis while I'm talking to you, by the way.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm going to have to, unfortunately, I'm going to have to, most unfortunately, I'm going to have to come back and reprime all these guys. But
yeah.
Which, by the way, this shows you how varied my interests are. I play RPGs, I play miniatures games,
Yeah. And I'm sure you do some video games as well.
Oh yeah, I do a little bit of video gaming.
Yeah.
I have to glue this guy's jaw together. Seriously?
Yes. See, I'm the same way. I run games. I play games. I do a lot of writing.
Yeah. It's kind of
Think I run YouTube. My channel. I actually have a bunch of historical books that I study occasionally. Because I find culture to me is interesting.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is, okay, say you're trying to relate to someone from the Middle East. Try and hold a normal conversation with them. How are you going to do that if you don't know the beliefs, the culture, the simple things too that we wouldn't think of like, for Americans, for example, it's nothing for us to go up to a lady by themselves and talk to them.
Nope.
In the Middle East, these cultures, that is not okay.
Not at all.
Another example I can think of is Native Americans. We're taught culturally that we are not to look an elder in the eye. So a lot of times we duck our eyes off to the side or look down if someone has authority over us. And this has led to some misunderstandings in courts, and the legal system. People thinking that Native Americans are liars because in American culture, it's common that if someone's telling you the truth, they'll look you in the eye.
Yep, definitely.
And that's not the case in other cultures. So, by being aware of that aspect of their culture, I know when I'm talking to someone who's Native American not to take something like that as a sign they're lying or being disrespectful. Oh yes, history's definitely a great source of conflict to fuel stories and games. Infinite Roleplay asked if your miniatures has been painted, and yes, Infinite, in about 12 minutes more, I've been streaming for 9 hours. with the exception of maybe a 5-minute hiccup.
Yep.
So there will actually be 2 videos called A Day in the Life of Jarin Dnd. There's a part 2 to it, which covers maybe the last 2 or 3 hours. I'm another. Yes. Yes. I get so many people that say that, and I've also been called on a machine. I've been called a D&D god just because I can go extended periods of times doing something like this. And people wonder how I do it, and it's that I don't hardly notice the time. And I'm sure Kyle can confirm that when you're having fun and doing something you love, you can do it all day. And
Yep.
to you, it will seem like 1 or 2 hours has passed.
The only thing that gets frustrating is putting minis together because you get yourself glued to your damn minis so many times. I've lost more skin to miniatures.
Yeah. And it's really, yeah, I play games like that Infinite that last 8-9 hours. One of my favorite games, and I'll never forget this experience, was we had an older DM who had his own place. We were like teenagers at the time. But he had 4 or 5 people who wanted to DM. This is back in 2nd edition. We had like 30 people that played. Hey, and 24/7 they had a game going. Hey, and the DMs would swap out players would swap out. If you needed to sleep, you crashed on the couch. It was just an awesome time.
Good, it won't fall apart on me. I have a feeling I might be doing some patch gluing here, but most of it glued together now. Fuck. And that's what happens when you wind up with priming. Your hands turn fucking gray.
One of these days I'll try at doing some minis when I get my own place and I have a bit more room. And
Doing minis is a pain in the ass, but it's fun.
Infinite says you need more practice, Kyle.
Tell Nelson to shut his whore mouth.
Nelson, you heard him.
Tell Nelson if he wants to come to my house and put my minis together and paint them, he can do that. Till then, no commentary from the peanut gallery.
But yeah, so this is kind of a typical of my time period when I'm networking in the day, just kind of chatting about different things. Then I usually do transcription work for most of the day, because that's a big project I'm working on.
Come on.
It's like I'm a veteran of minis too, Kyle. Thousands and thousands of minis. Get on my level. Yeah. I actually have a t-shirt that is similar to that. It's up top it says don't hate the game, and then like right up at your base it says get on my level.
Like I said, Nelson, feel free to come down here and paint these anytime.
Yeah.
Show me how it's done.
I would actually be interested at some point or having some people maybe do a video where they show like painting a mini or crafting like a terrain, uh, like Jake does mini terrains.
There's a technique to everything you do, and everyone's technique is different. That's what's so freaky about doing minis.
Yeah.
You never get two people
But
exactly the same.
yeah, it would be interesting to see kind of like what is it like, what's one way you could do it,
Yeah.
even though you'll probably have your own style with it as well.
So this guy is gonna go. God, I gotta glue these things down to bases. That's one of the last things I have to do is glue them to bases.
Cool. Nelson said he had videos like that, and I'm sure there are plenty out there. I just don't get much time to actually watch YouTube.
Why is there a slot in the damn base? Son of a bitch.
But one of my things is I'm subscribed to over 100 different YouTube channels, and like each of them put out at least one video per week. So it's like Sundays are normally my day that I get to watch YouTube videos, and I have to pick like which 2 to 5 videos I'm gonna watch that day.
God, for these being plastic, not metal, because metal's a bitch to shear.
Yeah. But yeah, producing content and then trying to keep up it is really hard. I don't know anyone who actually is able to without severely limiting the number of channels they watch. And I would be surprised if someone can keep up with more than 2 or 3 channels, or if those channels are producing 3 to 4 videos a week. So, well, we are right at our time for the live stream. Okay. So I am gonna grab some food and relax because I have a game starting in 2 hours. So I hope those who have watched the live stream enjoy it. Even though it's been more of a hangout than I had planned.
God damn it.
I've had a lot of nice people coming on, chatting with me. I totally enjoyed it. So I hope to see you all around sometime. And until next time, may the dice always roll in your favor.